process to decrease the number of these permits? Because I think that also one of big issues in Slovenia is that there are too many permits and there are too many companies and individuals who can enter in the city center, because this is a political decision. If you are closing the city center, is a problem for the inhabitants, and on the other hand, is a problem for services to get the delivery. This is one first question. As a second question, you said that annual cost will be 21,000 euros. What are what is included in this 21,000 euro for this consolidation center?
Okay, I'll start with the second question. This is only the co-financing by the city of Graz, this 21,000 euros. The real costs will be, I think, at least double of this, and this is will be financed by the private company on own risk. So that is this thing, and the costs we will finance are, for instance, the rental fees for the storage facility or the leasing fees for the electric vehicles, but also parts of the personnel costs shall be co-financed by the city.
Okay.
And you just to say it correct, the political discussion is just starting now. It's not a big discussion at the moment, but it could be, of course, in a few weeks. And this is, of course, an issue. Yeah, you're totally right. At the moment, the department who issues the special permits for the afternoon delivery has to give permit to nearly every delivery company, a delivery car, because the argument is that they have a business interest somehow, or the business interest would be touched if such a permit wouldn't be issued. So, and on the other hand, we now can offer this cooperative system, this Graz-log system for, and this is the alternative for all CEP companies. They should be included in the system, and through the system they can deliver also in the afternoon hours. And as I told you in my presentation, the legal time frame at the in the morning will remain. So there is nothing which should be changed for the morning hours, for the delivery at the morning hours. Does that answer your questions?
Yeah. Thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome.
Welcome.
Okay, I have another question. How to encourage or force deliverers or suppliers to use consolidation center? Are those access restrictions in city center of Graz enough, or?
Yeah, it's a little bit of both push and pull, as as in many other issues, and we are trying on the one hand to convince them that it's more efficient to collaborate. What is, I think, something new for this sector. And on the other hand, we are trying, as I just pointed out in my last answer, trying to get a little bit more strict in issuing special permits for the afternoon hours for freight transport in our city center. But it's a combination, and of course it's delicate.
Yeah. Okay.
Se lahko jaz vključim?
angleščini.
Jaz bi samo napovedala našim kolegom, ki so še ostali z nami, da je naša skupina z gospodom Armstrongom in pa gospodom Degenkampom se priključila v vašo klepetalnico, ker nismo imeli nobenega obiska, tako da lahko tudi njim zastavite kakšno vprašanje, če boste želeli. Pri tem bi vas rada opozorila, da gospod Degenkamp nas ob 13. uri zapušča, če imate za njih kako vprašanje. Hvala, pozdravljeni.
Ja. Gospod Koblar ima še vprašanje, Simon.
Yeah, thank you for the opportunity. First, I have a little bit provocative question. So we are talking about efficiency. So the logistics should be efficient with bicycle and small vehicles. So naturally, it should make economical sense. If the more efficient option should be economically more viable, and therefore private companies that want to maximize their profits would naturally follow these more efficient solutions. But this is just a little bit provocative because I understand there's more to it than just like efficiency that we talk about. So probably if you have a large fleet of vans, you don't just sell them one day and start using something else, and maybe reliability and other factors are also there, and they just don't want to change the business model that works and don't want to risk that something won't go as planned and things such. And there's one question for Gregor. Do you have to pay for the permit in Ljubljana, or is it free? You just ask for it? Because I think if it's you have to pay for it, maybe it's too cheap that everybody wants it, or maybe now it's free and that's why everybody gets it. And maybe you could get actually you don't even need a permit to run a cargo bike into the city center. So maybe there would be some costs saved for the delivery if you would do it with a cargo bike instead of van or truck. And I think there's a third thing that I think it was not discussed today. We are talking about really different cities here. So let's say Ljubljana and Graz and in the city in the Netherlands, their city centers are very alive, and there's a lot of businesses there, and they will deal with basically anything that you will tell them that they can do or they cannot do. They will stay there because it's very good to have a business in the city center. But if you are talking about small cities in Slovenia, usually you have problems that there's not a lot of shops and businesses in the city centers, and maybe they just don't want another problem with the delivery, etc. So they don't want more disruption besides of, let's say, closing the street for the cars, and maybe the businesses will just go out of the city center. Maybe it's a little more sensitive topic in the smaller cities. In big cities, of course, there will always be a huge interest of businesses to operate in the city center. So maybe it's a little bit easier to enforce something to them than in the small cities. So it wasn't so much as a question, but maybe more of a topic for discussion. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Simon. Maybe Mr. Degenkamp has something to add to this topic. And Milos Bajt is also interesting. And what is the smallest area or city with access restrictions and cargo logistic in your countries, in Netherlands, Austria, or in UK? So maybe to add an answer to this topic.
Well, maybe for that last question, I know, well, actually, a city like Rotterdam for a long time didn't have that many restrictions because Rotterdam is a new city and still they were working on city logistics. And now they have a low emission zone and thinking about zero emission zones, etc. But there was no need because the streets are wide enough and there are back doors, etc. For smaller cities, I don't know what the smallest city is, but I know, like as I told, Zaanstad is not one city; it's a city plus some villages. And actually, where we are now focusing on is the city center of Zaandam, which is the city, but also the two other village centers actually. So these villages are about 20,000 people, and still we see there that the local businesses want to improve the quality of their shopping area, and as long as we can convince them or assure them that changing city logistics doesn't mean that they will lose money, you can still achieve a lot. And I think it's quite easy because that's also because of maybe the failure of the logistical system. But normally the shopping companies don't pay a fair price for logistics. So there are not many logistical companies that will charge actually the local business for what they actually have to pay to get to their shop. So that is, and in the end, is not good, but it is a solution in this case. And also, yeah, it's still. It's also what can you give them in return? So in that case, they actually asked for themselves they had a plan with improving a square where there was now car parking, and they want to move that somewhere else. They want car parking, but it should be somewhere else. But also logistics do loading and unloading there. So if we want to, we can connect those ambitions together, I believe.
Yeah, from my point of view, it doesn't depend if it's a smaller city or a bigger city. From as far as I learned, business owners are a little bit skeptical when you come with new ideas to them. So it's not a self-fulfilling prophecy, unfortunately. I think this was one question of Simon Kobler. So from my point of view, it is only has only an effect on the market, and if you can set up such a cooperative system only with private budget, or if the municipality itself has to co-finance some part of it. That's the only difference, I think, between bigger and smaller municipalities. On the other hand, your provocative question is a very, very interesting and good one, of course. We don't want to convince the big shops in the pedestrian area of Graz on the first hand to get integrated in our system, but mainly the smaller shops are interesting for us because, as you said, or you said correctly, that big companies have a very efficient logistic chain system. Most of them are delivered in this legal time frame I mentioned before in the morning hours, and this can happen also in the future with the Graz log system. What we want to a little bit prevent is this delivery traffic after 10 o'clock in the morning and in the afternoon hours. And yeah, this is our priority at the moment, and of course we have to convince lots of shopkeepers and business owners to get integrated in our new approach and into this system. That's clear, and the main point is that the service we will offer can't be more expensive than the service they got till now. So that's the main point. On the other hand, last mile delivery or the price for the last mile delivery, in fact, is much higher than it will be paid by the recipients at the moment. We know that from some research and other sources. So we think it's a good opportunity to start now with such a service, and we hope that at the end it will be financially viable, of course.
So can I just add something from my experience? Cities across Europe that are historic and small have the biggest challenges because they've got very narrow streets, and access is a real big problem. So like the city I live in Cambridge in the UK. The university's been in Cambridge for 1,000 years. So, we've got cobbled streets, we've got little tiny streets which can't be accessed by large lorries. So the delivery companies are having to look at different ways of doing things. In terms of size, Cambridge is a relatively small city, 150,000 people. So that, it's sort of a similar sort of layout to Graz in Austria, although it hasn't got a river going down the middle that sort of splits the two. So the centre is right in the centre. So access restrictions are right. The thing to say is that, as Simon says, the big logistics companies are really, really efficient companies in terms of doing deliveries, and they're really good at it. What you need to aim at is the people that are in white vans, which are only half full, carrying very small packages. This is where cargo bikes and trikes are really, really good at actually getting to places that vans and lorries can't get to.
Yeah, I can agree, of course, with Gary, and therefore we in Graz try to implement our service, or will implement our service on the one hand with electric cargo bikes, and on the other hand with electric lorries. Yeah.
Do you feel that introducing cargo bikes and other solutions for green logistic is directly connected to introducing environmental zones in Netherlands or in Austria, perhaps? Why are you decide to put 3 environmental zones in Zaanstad?
We don't have an environmental
in Netherlands.
Okay,
I'm
sorry.
asking Mark.
Sorry.
Yeah. Well, we are doing 3 because of the structure of our city. If we would have a concentric city with the city center and the rest surrounding it, we probably would have one bigger one in the middle.
You are driven by the state or by the local inhabitants, or why are you doing it?
It's a combination of things. So it's the national climate agreement, which we are not directly part of, but through the organization of municipalities, we are a partner. But also we have our local own climate goals, which is a big driver, and the fact that traffic in our city is getting more dense, and so we need to do something to keep things going. So it's all kind of reasons. You said are cargo bikes coming because of low emission zones, etc. From my Utrecht experience, the low emission zone was not the driver for cargo bikes. The driver there was the difficult accessibility, physical accessibility of the city center. So small streets, the weight restrictions, etc. That was the main driver for that.
Congestion.
Congestion or just not being allowed to go in with big vehicles. The zero emission zones, on the other hand, so the real if you do have an emission, you are not allowed to get in. That I believe will be an extra driver more than low emission zones, because that only affects a small bit of the freight and vans, the trucks and vans.
Thank you.
Yeah,
I agree entirely with Mark. You know, in the first instance, it tends to be congestion and access is problems. But what encourages cyclologistics is if low emission zones are then introduced, because that then gives traditional delivery companies a problem, which they can attack either with technology in terms of sort of electric vehicles or whatever, or finding an alternative such as a cargo bike or a cargo truck.
I may add to the question that was pointed directly to me. I'm not sure if there is a price for getting a permit to access in Ljubljana city center, but here are also the representatives from Ljubljana. I think before it was Matic Bizak, he was here. He's a town manager. He's still here or not, I'm not sure. But the issue just
imajo proti plačilu. You have to pay for permit to access between 10 and 9 o'clock in the evening.
But before the companies that are
because the delivery time is between 6 and 10 o'clock, and before 6 and after 10 you have a permission to go, but you have to buy a permit.
Okay. One of the issues I think that because I pointed out in my presentation, that, sorry for those who are not from Slovenia, this was Slovenian, was also that we have this delivery window for the delivery company, but most of the deliveries in the second city that is a pilot in our case, it's a small city or a village city, whatever. It's 20,000 inhabitants, but the historical city center that is quite big for the Slovenian small cities is that the most of the deliveries are done not in the delivery windows, but during the day, because I think the price of this permit, this entrance is too low. And before it was, Simon mentioned this efficiency. I think that we all know that this combination of restrictions and cost for the delivery company will make change. Not only the restrictions are not the only way, but also the offers. I think that offers that city can brings to the companies that work, the business holders in the city center. There should be some offer extra, not just to set the restriction to lower the number of permissions, but also one offer, and like Grazlog or something. We also said a kind of a public service could be implemented for an offer to have this substitute if you are denying their application for permit with their personal car. I think this is a big issue, how to handle it politically and start with this process of changing.
Before I have to leave, I'd like, if you allow me, to answer two questions which were posed in the chat. Is that okay? first question, do you have different delivery zones in Graz? How are they regulated? No, we have only this regulation for the pedestrian zone, for the central pedestrian zone, which is very, very large, of course. And to drive into this, or to get in entrance into this zone after the legal delivery time frame, for this you have to apply in a municipality, in an office, for a special permit. It's more or less only a bureaucratic effort, and it doesn't cost too much. Yeah, nearly nothing, I would say. So this is the one question, and the other question was connected to an interesting fact, which is also for Graz true, that business owners have permits and are entering the city center with their own cars and deliver small packages and so on. Yeah, we also recognized this fact, and this is this is an issue. Of course, we have to convince them on the one hand to use the Grazlog service, for instance, when we offer them special services, like they, for instance, a pub can store some of the cutlery or some of other things in our Grazlog hub in between, and we will deliver it accurately to a special time. That could be one service, for instance. So we have to be very flexible, and we will of course further on discuss such services, such special services with the business owners of this area in Graz. So thank you very much again for having me here. And now I have to leave, unfortunately. I wish you a great workshop and great discussion. So bye-bye from Graz.
Bye.
Bye, thank you.
Thank you very much, Christian.
You're welcome.
Yeah, we see you. Hope soon.
I think
Mark.
Mark left too. Can I ask something, Mr. Armstrong, for Mr.
Yes.
Question for Mr. Armstrong? Hello.
Well, there was one I noticed in the question.
In the chat, yes.
In the chat, it's concerning in Slovenian cities, many of the cycle couriers, cycle delivery guys are low paid, unfavorable working conditions. That is a real challenge across Europe. I think there's lots of what we call gig economy across Europe, where people are sort of exploiting this capability. What we're doing in the UK is cycle logistics operators. We're encouraging these organisations to pay what we call the living wage, and to actually be employed and have actual employment rights in the same way as an employee would have. But the big problem area is the food delivery, like Deliveroo and Uber Eats and Ferudo, trying to get those organisations to pay their riders a living wage is a real challenge. So it is a challenge not only for Slovenia but across Europe. But people like ourselves are trying to provide or encourage a better regulations for riders.
Can I ask you also, you as a cycle logistic organization, do you participate in your local transport plans, freight transport plans? I saw in literature you have also in England delivery and serving plans. How do you participate in making that plans, like interested public, or like some more active ways?
Yeah, it's a challenge. You know, some municipalities will not recognise that psychologistics is a solution. The ones that do tend to be the cities, and again, specifically in the UK, where there is a large cycling contingent. So, for example, as I said, Cambridge, where I live, is sort of the cycling city of the UK. Over 30% of people cycle to work. So there's a lot of interest in cycling, whereas the national average for cycling in the UK is less than 2%. So the cities that already, where there's a lot of personal cycling going on, there's lots of services being used, being cargo bikes. And so the cities recognize that. But the cities where there's not a big cycling take up are the real challenges. However, that's where things like low emission zones and restricted access being introduced then makes even the traditional companies, the big logistics companies, having to think about different ways of doing deliveries in those areas. And so we'll be encouraged to start thinking about a bike-based solution as part of the whole solutions. But one thing to say is, cargo bikes can't do everything. There will be, for large retailers that have containers full of deliveries, psychologistics is never going to be able to do that. So there's always going to be a requirement for big logistics to still be able to do the delivery. But again, what cargo bikes are good at is sort of small, medium-sized packages, which can easily be carried in a cargo bike box.
Yes, I have another question. Mr. Armstrong, do you know, perhaps you're the only one that you stay with us. Do you know if there is any legal basis for implementing urban logistic management measures in cities, like they have a strategic urban mobility plan, a transport policy, or SUMPs, or there are some cities that are doing those measures without these strategic plans and policies?
Yeah, as I said before, I think there are some cities will not even recognize that psychologistics is happening. That's starting to change now. As I said, as restrictions and low emission zones are being introduced, they're having to look at different solutions and has to be incorporated as part of the delivery plans and the SUMPs and such thing. So, it's a challenge.
Okay.
Yeah, thank you.
Matea, can I ask?
Yeah, ще до вprašanja.
Yeah, I have for Mr. Armstrong. Within our public tender for our pilot project, we bought 5 bikes, cargo bikes, and there was all from Urban Aero. There were 40 and 2 of them are XL. You have a lot of experience. We tested also it for the delivery of the letters as our national post use it, but it was not suitable for that purpose. What is the purpose? Now we have to get a really purpose where will be these bikes will be very useful, because they are quite expensive. We are just searching for the cities. What is the best way to use them if the city is managing them?
Oh, that's a really difficult question. The thing to remember that there are very many different types of cargo bike. So you really have to think about what you want to use your bike for in order to choose the right bike. So what I mean by that, as I said, there are 2-wheel cargo bikes, there are 3-wheel cargo bikes, there are 4-wheel cargo bikes, there are trailers which can be used for carrying goods. So you really need to think about, what the requirement is. Do you need a secure and lockable box, or can you carry vegetable boxes on an open bike? So, you know, there are lots of examples where municipalities have started to think about it. And what typically happens, you know, a municipality may well operate from a number of locations in a city. And there is more than likely going to be movement between those locations. So that's an obvious one where a cargo bike could actually be used as opposed to using a diesel van. Anyone, you know, taking information out to people is a better way of is a way of using a cargo bike as a mobile display station, or doing a mobile library, or doing trade waste collection, or doing street cleaning. All of these different applications, you need to think about which bike is most appropriate.
Yes, I agree. Our experience is the same. We thought that we should buy one of the, how to say, the quite expensive bikes on the market, but they are not suitable for the services of the post. Okay, they are suitable for delivering the parcels, I think. But I also see that you have a lot of such bikes in your presentation. You have, I think, a few times there was Urban Arrow, and Bullet. Bullet was also, I think, and is the same, how to say, structure of the bike. It's 2.5 meter long or something like that. And we also have this self-locking box. On one we install the self-locking box when you go away, just for delivering the parcels. But the post said it's not too suitable for them because it's too big, because they need, because of the maneuvering of it, it's a bit not so suitable for them. And now, because we are looking the best opportunity where to use it with the municipalities that are going to gain them, I was just thinking that it's really a question that you have to first need to know what purpose of the bike will be, for what you are going to use them, and then how to say, adopt the bike for your service.
You know, the good example is doing the post. You know, traditionally postmen was, particularly in the UK, they all used to ride bicycles to do their delivery rounds, but then they were scrapped. And people introduced sort of hand walk trailers and vans and things, but now there's a move back to actually using bikes for delivering post. So.
Any more questions? Or
I tried to drive one of a cargo bike, actually two kind, I think, and it is really not easy. So how do you have any special training for lending these bikes to families and public service?
Yeah, because there is a wide range of different cargo bikes. Some bikes are easier to ride than others. The general rule is the bigger they get, the more training is actually required for the rider to ride them. You know, however, there are some cargo bikes which are, you know, just as easy to ride as a standard bicycle. You may just have had one which was just not quite right for you. So as I said, the bigger the bike, the more likely training is a requirement. And again, what we're trying to introduce is some sort of training program, sort of a national and European training standard that riders need to follow. There is definitely a different technique to riding a cargo bike, as the bigger cargo bikes and an ordinary bicycle. As I said, the bigger the bike, the more important training becomes.
And how do you procure? How do you organize such a training? You have a tender, and you.
Organizations will actually you know, an organisation could put a tender together to an appropriate training company. In the UK, we have a national standard for cycling, just ordinary cycling. But a number of the cargo bike operators have actually had to develop their own training programs for their riders, for the very fact, as I said, you know, some of the bigger bikes are can be more challenging. One of the challenges you have once you get to three-wheeled cargo bikes, you then have a challenge about whether they are antisocial to other cyclists. And so are they allowed on cycle paths or not? So that can be a challenge, or cycle paths which are shared use with other pedestrians.
Can you use these bikes on street also, or just on cycling?
No, you can use it. Yeah, you can use a cargo bike on a cycle infrastructure, or you can actually use them on the road. There's no, if there's cycling infrastructure there, there's no, sorry, in the UK, there's no legal requirement to use the cycling infrastructure if it isn't, you know, if it's more appropriate to use a car.
Okay.
And in some instances, for a delivery company, for the cycle logistics operator, it might be easier to use the road than it is to use a cycle path, because if the cycle paths have got brakes at each junction, then it's quicker for a cycle logistics rider to be riding on the road than on the cycle logistics infrastructure.
Thank you.
Yeah. Okay, Adriana has has a question in a chat. She also added that she also tried to ride a cargo bike, and it's not easy, especially for women. I know if when you have a high heels and a skirt, I think that's true. So Adriana asked, she's from a College of Traffic and Transport in Maribor. It's like a college or high school. And she said that we have a good experience with DPD company, which gave us a freight e-bike to use, and our students delivered packages during the summer. Our school was a storage, a hub. Question for, so this is just an information for us. I live in Maribor, I didn't know that, so we must talk about it. And she wants to know from Gregor Steklacic, why did you choose Ptuj for pilot city to prepare a strategic urban logistic plan?
I think that it's not a big issue. We have these demands, conditions when we have this public procurement process, and Maribor already have the cycle, the SULP, SULP, Sustainable Urban Logistic Plan that was managed and elaborated in 2017, I think, with where the faculty was a project partner, and they already have this strategic document, so it's not to select Maribor, that we are not just repeating the process once again. So, and the Ptuj was one of the sort of comparable cities with this second step of Slovenian, how to say, cities, not what to say. But I think I answered. But I have a question also for Mr. Armstrong. What are the technical standards for bicycles? Because in Slovenia we have there were some ideas that that the bike, that because of this cargo bikes can bring pallets, the whole pallets, because they are 1 meter wide, and you need there are some tricot that are wider, but by that standard they are not anymore a bicycle in Slovenia, because the bicycle can hold only 1 meter wide, can be only 1 meter wide, or can hold only 1 meter wide package. But there were some tricots that said 1 meter and 20. There was some, I saw some promotional videos, but they are not bicycles anymore in Slovenia. What are the standards in UK?
The standards across Europe vary, you know, really widely. We don't, in the UK, we don't have any standards like that. The only restriction is that an electric cargo bike can't travel more than 15.5 miles per hour, and it can be as wide as you like. You know, there's no width restrictions. However, there is a group, there's organizations called Cycling Industries Europe who are trying to define a standard across Europe for bicycles. You know, one of the big things is to be able to carry Euro pallet size pallets. So, yeah. So it's a new area for cycle logistics, and at the moment many countries have different standards. But it's the European Union are trying to put together a standard that could be adopted in the future.
Okay, Simon, he wants to add something.
Okay, yeah, thank you. On one of the pictures, Gregor, there was a van on sidewalk. So I think we have two problems. One is the city centers, like historic city centers, and the other is outside of historic city centers. And I was just thinking about it. Could we implement something like a parking standards? So in the parking standard, if you have a shop or something or a block of flats, you have to have certain number of parking spaces for people, some for regular people, some parking spaces for people with disabilities, but there's no dedicated space for delivery. But I live in a apartment, and every day there's a lot of vans outside. Usually at our apartment, it's not a problem because there's a lot of free parking spaces during the morning hours. So it's actually not such a problem, but as we saw, it can be a problem in the more densely populated area where all the parking spaces are either taken or there's a ramp or something blocking the access there. And maybe just as you have to sort something out if you want to have a shop or something, there should be, you should prove that maybe the delivery will be done by bicycle or whatever, or you should have a dedicated space for the delivery vehicle. Otherwise, you just cannot operate a store or a business. I don't know, just an idea, but maybe that's something that we could discuss a little bit.
I agree. The parking standards are the issue that we are dealing not only in the logistics but also with the normal cars. We have a lot of issue with this in the sustainable mobility. This is the big issue. You cannot manage the mobility without restriction on parking or with a restriction on the access in some kind of part of the city or some so inner how to say, they said the back doors in the Netherlands. If you have a back doors, it's not a problem. In the Rotterdam, there are no restriction, and in the city there were no restriction in the past. And I think that this could be the solution, but you have to know that the businesses in the buildings, they're always changing, and they are starting the new businesses and everything. But it's a spatial planning, definitely. It's not such a traffic issue. It's a spatial planning mostly, and as I said, the local communities and also national governments doesn't want to put too many restriction on the business how to say development. They don't that nobody doesn't want to have the closed city center with no business in it, and they are just how to say usually they are allowing a lot of small how to say a lot of small sorry, prekršek. How do you say? How to say in English? So no, sorry. They're it's in, and we're just how to say accepting it. It's not happening. That the fines will be just immediately published to the each one that was parking on the pavement. I think it's a big issue. The really concrete finding of all the parking vehicles that are not parked where they should be. This is I think the first step that could be done. But the second will be that we will start with an extra restriction.
Okay.
Prekršek offense or not obeying the rule.
Okay, that was the word that I was looking for.
Yeah, okay. Okay. I think there is not enough space for the delivery cars, but they should have those spaces around the buildings. So if anyone, we are in the time, so we predicted until 30 minutes. So if anyone have questions, if not, I think you all have contacts of our lecturers, or you can contact me and I will forward if you have any additional questions in the future. So thank you very much for participating in our e-workshop, and perhaps we see you soon in live in I don't know when this will be. Maybe next year in the summer we see you all in some city
And in
or
good health.
Yeah, in good health. Yeah, maybe here in Maribor. Okay, thank you very much, Mr. Armstrong. Thank you very much to be with us the whole day, and everything the best in the UK. Hvala vsem, se vidimo. Nasvidenje.
Nasvidenje.